I want to tell you something that happened to me. A while back, I was going through one of the hardest financial periods of my life. I'm talking specifically, counting every dollar, cutting everything I could, just trying to get through the month. And then a friend called. They needed money, urgently, and I gave it to them. I scraped it together, figured it out, and handed it over. Because that's what you do, right? You show up for people. But after that call, I sat there and I felt something I didn't expect. Not just stressed, empty. Like I'd given something I didn't have, and now there was nothing left for me. Maybe your version looks different. Maybe it's a friend who calls every night to unload their problems, and you listen, really listen, every single time. Maybe it's a coworker who always seems to need your help, and you always say yes. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's all of the above.
But here's what I've learned. That exhaustion you feel after giving, it's not weakness. It actually has a name. Scientists call it empathy fatigue. And here's the part that nobody told me. It only happens to people with high empathy. The people who don't feel much for others, they never get this tired. So if you've ever given more than you had and felt worse for it, this video is for you. Because what you're experiencing isn't a flaw. It's how your brain is built. And once you understand why, you can stop burning out without having to stop caring. Okay, so let me tell you what's actually going on inside your brain when you care about someone. Because I think once you hear this, a lot of things are going to start making sense.
You know how when a friend is going through something really hard, like they're crying, or they're telling you about their breakup, or they're just visibly stressed, and you feel it too. Like you don't just hear what they're saying, you actually feel the weight of it in your own chest. That's not just you being sensitive. That's something called the mirror neuron system. And honestly, when I first learned about this, it kind of blew my mind a little. So here's how it works. Mirror neurons are these brain cells that do something really unusual. They fire not just when you experience something yourself, but when you watch someone else experience it. Like your brain literally runs a little simulation of what the other person is going through. Someone flinches in pain, your brain registers a version of that pain too. Someone starts crying, your brain starts to process what crying feels like.
Think of it like this. Most people's brains are like watching a movie. They feel something, they get tense, maybe a little emotional, but they're still in the seat. There's still that distance between them and the screen. Your brain? It's more like you somehow step through the screen. You're not watching the scene, you're kind of in it. And here's where it gets really interesting. A neuroscientist named Dr. Tanya Singer, she runs a research lab at the Max Planck Institute. She found something that honestly surprised even her. When you feel with someone, not just feel sorry for them, but genuinely feel what they're feeling, your brain actually activates its pain networks. Your cortisol goes up. Your body treats their stress like it's happening to you. Not metaphorically, literally, physiologically.
So when your friend calls you at midnight in tears, and you hang up an hour later feeling completely drained, that's not just tiredness from being up late. Your body just went through something. It processed real stress. It did real emotional work. And the thing is, you didn't choose this. This isn't a decision you made. It's just how your brain is wired. Some people's mirror neurons are more sensitive, more active, more responsive. And if you're the kind of person who always ends up being the one everyone calls, there's a very real chance yours are firing overtime. Now, and this is the part I really want you to sit with for a second. Not everyone absorbs emotions the same way. And I think understanding this actually explains a lot. Imagine you have a cup, and throughout the day, every conversation you have, every problem someone shares with you, every emotional moment, it adds a little bit of water to your cup. By the end of the day, the cup needs to empty somehow.
For most people, there are small holes at the bottom of the cup. The water drains out naturally as the day goes on. They feel things, they process them, they move on. Maybe they feel a little tired by the evening, but by the next morning, cup's empty again, ready to go. But for people with high empathy, for people like you, and honestly like me, the cup doesn't have those holes. Everything that comes in, stays in. And by the end of the day, you're not just full, you're overflowing. And the next morning, the cup is still pretty full from yesterday. And then the day starts again.
I actually think about that friend I told you about at the beginning. The one I gave money to when I had nothing. I didn't just give money that day. I had been carrying little bits of their stress for months before that. Every time they called stressed out, every time they vented, every time I could hear in their voice that things weren't good. My cup had been filling for a long time, and that one day, it just completely overflowed. Researchers actually have a name for that moment. They call it empathic distress. And it's different from just being tired. It's what happens when you've absorbed so much of someone else's emotional weight that your own system starts to shut down. Not because you're weak, but because you've literally run out of capacity.
And here's something that might feel uncomfortably familiar. When you hit that state, it doesn't always look like sadness or exhaustion. Sometimes it looks like irritability. You snap at someone you love for no good reason. Sometimes it looks like numbness. You stop feeling much of anything. Sometimes it looks like this weird guilt, because you catch yourself not caring as much anymore, and you think, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Your cup is just full, that's all. Okay, so now I want to talk about what you can actually do differently. And I want to say this really clearly before we get into it. This is not about caring less. I'm not going to tell you to stop being the person who picks up the phone. That's not what this is. This is about learning how to care without it costing you everything. 3 things, just 3. The first one is, learn the difference between absorbing and witnessing. These sound similar, but they're actually really different. When you absorb someone's pain, it becomes yours. You take it home. You lie awake thinking about it. You feel responsible for fixing it. When you witness someone's pain, you're still right there with them, you're present, you genuinely care, but you stay on your side of that glass. Their story doesn't become your story. Here's a practical way to try this. Next time someone shares something heavy with you, while you're listening, say this quietly to yourself in your head. I see what you're going through. I care about what you're going through. But this is yours to carry, not mine. That's it. You don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to do anything different on the outside. But something shifts internally when you do that. You give your brain a kind of quiet permission to be compassionate without absorbing the cost of it. It feels strange at first. Honestly, for people like us, it can feel a little cold, a little distant. But it's not. It's actually the thing that lets you keep showing up for people over the long run, instead of disappearing because you're too burned out. The second thing. Stop treating recovery like a reward. Treat it like maintenance. Here's what I used to do, and I'm guessing maybe you do this too. I would just keep going. Keep listening, keep helping, keep showing up, until one day I was snapping at people I loved, feeling nothing, completely hollow. And then I'd finally rest. But by that point, the damage was already done. It's like only charging your phone when it hits 0%. You can do it, but if you do it consistently, the battery starts to degrade. It holds less and less over time. Research actually backs this up. There's a study from John Gottman's lab at the University of Washington showing that even just 20 minutes of genuine downtime after an emotionally demanding interaction can prevent that emotional accumulation from building up. Not scrolling your phone. Not half-watching Netflix. Actually doing something that lets your nervous system settle. A walk, sitting outside, even just sitting quietly in your car for a few minutes before you go inside. I think of it as closing your tabs. If you've ever had too many browser tabs open and your computer starts slowing down, that's kind of what's happening. You have too many of other people's situations running in the background. You need to close some tabs before opening new ones. And I know what some of you are thinking. I don't have time for that. But honestly, 20 minutes. That's it. You spend more time than that feeling bad about being tired. Try giving those 20 minutes to yourself instead. The third thing, and this one's the hardest for people like us, is learning to say, not right now, without drowning in guilt about it. I know. Even reading that might have made something in you tighten up a little. Because for people who care deeply, saying no feels like abandonment. It feels like you're letting someone down. It feels like you're not being the person you're supposed to be. But here's the thing I want you to really hear. If you keep giving from an empty cup, and I mean really keep going, past empty, eventually there is nothing left to give. Not to the people you love, not to the situations that actually need you. You just run out. And that's not noble. That's not self-sacrifice. That's just depletion. So instead of no, try this. I really want to be there for you. Can we talk tomorrow? I just don't have the capacity right now. That's not a rejection, that's honesty. And honestly, most people, when they hear it said kindly, they get it. And the relationship is better for it because you came back the next day actually present, actually able to listen, instead of going through the motions while running on empty. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the thing that makes it possible to keep the door open. So, let's bring it all together. If you get tired from caring, if you've ever felt that specific kind of empty that comes after giving everything you had and then some, I really want you to hear this. That's not a flaw. That's your mirror neurons working overtime. That's your brain doing something extraordinary. The problem was never that you care too much. The problem is that nobody showed you how to protect it. 3 things one more time. Witness. Don't absorb. Stay on your side of the glass. Recover before you crash. Close the tabs before they slow everything down. And say, not right now. Because a full cup is what makes you actually useful to the people you love. That's it. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that requires you to become a different person. Just 3 small shifts practiced over time, and caring starts to feel different. Not heavier, just more like something you can actually sustain. If this felt like something you needed to hear today, share it with the person in your life who's always the one giving. You know who that is. Not to say, here's your problem, just to say, I see you. I get why you're tired, and it can be different. I'll see you in the next one.